It's The Journey with drug and alcohol attorney Mark G. Astor.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Journey. I'm super excited to have as a very special guest Palm Beach County's one and only state attorney, Dave Aronberg, who I've pretty much had to cajole to get on the show because he is such a busy guy. But Dave, I'm really happy that you're here with us. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark.
So, you know what I love? Well, one of the things that just about everybody that I know who's on either side of the aisle, you know what they say? They love Dave. I've never met anybody who's an elected official where people on both sides of the aisle say the exact same thing, which is they like you both personally and have tremendous respect for you professionally. So, you must be doing something right.
Or you're just not talking to enough people.
Well, okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, I'll have to do a better job of that. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, I don't think I've ever met anybody who didn't have a good, had good things to say about you, Dave. So you're doing a great job, my friend. So I know we only have you for a little bit, so I'll go right into it. So my understanding is you're a Miami guy, is that right?
Yes, born and raised, went to public schools down there, and I'm still a long-suffering Miami Dolphins fan and Miami Hurricanes fan.
Well, I got to tell you, normally I would root for the Dolphins, but see, I did my undergrad at Michigan as opposed to Harvard, and so I'm a bit of a Patriots fan. And Audra, my better half and law partner, well, she practiced in Boston for many years, so for right now we're going to root for the Patriots. So that may not make me very popular here in South Florida. But what are you going to do?
I mean, rooting for the Patriots is like, rooting for Microsoft or something, or Amazon. It's like it doesn't take a lot of of courage to root for the Super Bowl winners every year.
What can I tell you? I'm not that brave apparently, but so I want to. How did a Miami guy end up at Harvard? Because I mean, Harvard bachelor's and law school. That's pretty impressive.
I've always wanted to go. My mom instilled it in me from the very beginning, and it's just something that I knew that it just felt like I wanted to go there. I visited it. I loved it. It was a goal of mine. I'm just grateful to do it. But, you don't have to go to Harvard to be a success in this world. The people that when I campaign, that I raise money from, I depend on, people a lot more successful than I am who didn't go to Harvard to keep this job. And so I'm grateful for all the support in the community.
Yeah. So I want to, after law school, I know you worked for a litigation firm, right? Is it still Hector in Miami?
I went to Steele, Hector & Davis right out of law school in Miami. I worked in the corporate litigation department, and then I left after about 3.5 years to go to the Attorney General's office, and that's how I entered my career in public service. While I was at Steele, Hector & Davis, I did a public service project with the insurance commissioner then. It was Bill Nelson, and we went after European insurance companies that stole policies from victims of the Holocaust. This was the largest consumer fraud in history. And to me, it was the most meaningful thing I'd ever done. And so after I did that, I decided to leave the law firm and go into public service work full time.
So what do you think was the defining, part for you? Because I know when I got out of law school, well, I mean, I interned, for the office in '93, and I always said that was the only job I ever wanted because I just couldn't imagine working for a big law firm. So, I mean, there's something about being in public service, right? It's just that, I know when I went to work every day and when I worked for Barry, I went home and I'm like, I can't believe they're even paying me to do this. It's the best job in the world. You feel so good about what you do. And when you're helping people, it's an amazing feeling. So, I don't know if you ever get that in a big law firm. Maybe you do. You own the big bucks. But, I mean, when you're helping people, it's everything. So.
Yeah, it's true. I took a big pay cut when I went to the Attorney General's office. By the time I never looked back. I mean, it was, life's too short and taxes are too high to be in a job you don't love. And I found a career of passion right when I entered the Attorney General's office. And, I love it. It doesn't feel like work when you do something that you love.
So is that when you became the drug czar, or was this before that?
I served at the Attorney General's office for about a year and a half when I went there the first time back in 1999. And then I got a White House fellowship. So in 2000, in September, I moved up to Washington, D.C. and took this fellowship where I was assigned to the Treasury Department. And I worked for the Secretary of the Treasury Department on international money laundering. And that was a one-year fellowship. I returned home after that on September 10th, 2001. The day before the world changed.
I remember that.
And Yeah, and just that's another podcast for another day. But I then returned to the Attorney General's office, and that's where I went after Purdue Pharma, the makers of OxyContin, for its marketing practices. That's how I got my start in the whole opioid epidemic, and that became the theme of my career from here on out.
Yes. So was that when Pam Bondi was the Florida Attorney General?
No, that was Bob Butterworth.
Okay.
I had served under him 2 separate times, so I returned from the fellowship, went back to the AG's office, and then I opened up the West Palm Beach office. He started a West Palm office, so I picked up.
Sorry. Go ahead, I'm with you.
For the viewers, that was on Mark's side, not on my side.
That was on my side, yeah.
So I opened the West Palm Beach office along with Cecile Dykes and others from the AG's office who deserve a lot of credit because they're true public servants, and went after consumer fraud and the opioid epidemic. And then I got elected to the state senate back in 2002. So I left the AG's office again when I became a state senator. I went to a private law firm, Greenspoon Martyr, which was a part-time job while I was in the Senate. And then I worked for Attorney General Bondi as her drug czar in 2011. And I did that for until November of 2012 when I was elected to be state attorney for Palm Beach County.
Okay, so what was the role of the drug czar? Because I mean, we had these pill mills down, and in fact, a good friend of mine, Paul Schwartz, was the assistant U.S. United States attorney who prosecuted those 2 yahoos, the George brothers. One guy had a Lamborghini, the other guy had a monster truck, and somehow they thought that they would, they could slide under the radar and no one would even notice them. But maybe it was the line around the door from the storefront they were operating as a pill mill that gave it away. I don't know. So what was the role of the drug czar? I mean, are those the guys you were going after?
Yeah, back in 2010, 2011, we had more pain clinics in Florida than McDonald's in Florida. This was an epidemic that the legislature largely ignored. And so the new attorney general got elected and reached across the aisle and appointed me as her drug czar. And together we researched and found all these illicit pain clinics and then helped to pass these new laws that then gave us the ability to shut them down. And so we were able to shut them all down. You don't see those anymore. But we knew when we shut them down that people would move to a cheaper, more accessible alternative, heroin. And what started as an OxyContin crisis became an oxycodone crisis, the generic pills that were given out like candy at these pain clinic pill mills. And that became a heroin epidemic when we shut down the pill mills. And now it's become a fentanyl epidemic because that's a synthetic version of the opioids that are made in labs like in China, shipped into the United States, and it's way more powerful and cheaper than heroin. So that's the current manifestation of this opioid epidemic.
It's amazing, and I still think there's probably millions of those pills floating around somewhere from way back when you were the drug czar.
Yeah. My work in this area has taken different forms, from an assistant attorney general investigating Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, to a state senator pushing for the prescription drug monitoring program and other laws to get tough on these pill mills, to drug czar to actually get these things through a recalcitrant legislature and to actually identify and shut these places down. And I even tried a heroin trafficking case myself, which was amazing to do. I got a lifelong drug dealer. Finally, got him it was 45 years in prison. That was his career, selling heroin. So finally, the revolving door of justice finally ended. That's the end of his drug dealing. And then when I was elected state attorney, I focused on the recovery side of the opioid epidemic. The fact that we had many of treatment centers and sober homes being corrupted by bad players to exploit people in recovery for profit, for their insurance benefit. That's why we created the Sober Homes Task Force, and we've made 87 arrests since we started that in October of 2016. I
love it. So I want to know what motivated you to run for state attorney. Were you thinking about running for public office again? I mean, so what was the feeling behind it?
I had lost a race for attorney general in 2010. That's how the Republican who beat the Democrat who beat me in the primary, she appointed me as her drug czar.
That's pretty amazing. I think that speaks volumes about the respect she obviously had for you.
Well, it was some issues should just transcend partisanship. When it comes to public safety, you shouldn't have partisanship. And when it comes to the epidemic that was killing 7 people a day in Florida, unfortunately now it's risen because of heroin and fentanyl. But there's no room for the partisan divide, and so we worked together on that. And and the Attorney General and I disagreed on other issues, like the Affordable Care Act and some other issues out there. But on this, we were lockstep on getting rid of the pill mills, saving lives from the opioid epidemic. And I do give her credit for reaching out across party lines when people in her own party were very critical of her for doing so. It's hard to be bipartisan these days.
Very.
And yeah. So I did that, and then I decided in 2012 to run for state attorney because I had received many calls from people who were dissatisfied with the state attorney's office here in Palm Beach County and the leadership, and they wanted to change. And so they reached out to me, and I decided to put my hat in the ring and try to bring change to that office. And yeah, we've done so, thankfully.
Yeah, so Al Johnson and I were in county court together. Did he tell you that way back when?
No.
So
you look much younger than he does. I'm surprised. No, I didn't know that.
Well, so I interned in '93. In the summer for 6 months I interned, and then when I left, so with January '94 I got done with my internship, and in April of '94 they hired me. May I popped out of law school and they came back, and I was in county court with Alan, one of the old D&D center, which is now gone. And I joked to them when I saw him the other day. I said, other than a few gray hairs, he looks exactly the same. I don't know who his plastic surgeon is, but maybe he could share that information with us privately.
Well, I guess Al was gray 20 years ago then, because he's pretty much all gray. But Al is a retired rock star.
I know.
For many years.
I remember that. That's probably only you and I know that.
Yeah, mild-mannered and self-effacing prosecutor that he is, and but before this career, he was on tour in a band. He's a very talented musician.
Well, I interned with Craig Williams, and Terry Nolan, who unfortunately since passed. But so yeah, it's amazing. I enjoy. I always say thank goodness that they hired me. That Barry hired me. I don't know. I might have been selling insurance now because it was the only job I wanted when I got out of law school. It was the only job I wanted. So. And as you know, I still have tremendous affection for the office. My friends tell me I'm still a prosecutor at heart, and they might be right. But that's
it's the best job.
It is.
What I do in the future, I'm always probably going to look back at this as my favorite job in life. It is. It has been my favorite job. I love it.
Yeah, and it's you know what it is, Dave. It's not just that it was a great job. That office is a great office to work for because I know folks that worked in Miami, that worked in Broward, and other state attorneys, and when they were done with their 3 years, they were like, "Thank God." I've never heard anybody who worked in Palm Beach ever say a bad word about the office. Everybody there loved the office. It was very much a family, very supportive, and so I know I've sort of said this to you privately, but I was super excited with what you've done with the office, and I know everybody that works in the office says the same things. They love working for you. So
thank you, Mark. Thank you for saying that.
So let's talk about the Sober Homes Task Force and tell me where that came from, where that idea came from, because I know you guys have done an amazing job with that too.
Well, we realized that there was a problem with rogue sober homes and corrupted drug treatment centers here in Palm Beach County. And so we went to the legislature and asked for new laws. And the legislature said, that's just a Palm Beach County problem. Let the state attorney's office deal with it. And so I said, okay, I'll deal with it. But you got to give us resources to start a task force. The task force is, let me put it this way. Have you ever watched Law & Order?
Yeah, my mom's favorite show.
All right. You have the cops in the first half of the show. You've got the prosecutors in the second half of the show. A task force takes us from the second half of the show to the first half of the show to investigate, arrest, and prosecute with the cops at the beginning. And that way, instead of being passive in the second half of the show, waiting for the cases to be brought to us, we're out there aggressively working with police, working with law enforcement to find these cases. And so we created this task force with a one-time grant by the Florida legislature of $275,000. We hired a full-time prosecutor, a forensic accountant. We got law enforcement buy-in from throughout the county, loaned to our office, and we were able to be off and running in October 2016. And we were so successful in that first year in shutting down rogue players in the sober home and drug treatment centers, drug treatment industries, that the legislature gave us the second year of appropriations of $300,000. So we got that. Then the third year, we took it in-house, and we're funding it in-house. But our efforts have not slowed down. as I said, we now have about 87 arrests since it started, and more to come.
Yeah,
And Mark, the thing I'm proudest of is that, in part because of our efforts, we now have experienced in Palm Beach County a 40% decrease in opioid overdose deaths in this county in the year 2018 compared to 2017.
It's amazing. I'll share a little story. I actually went to luncheon with Al about 2 years ago, and the guy who was the keynote speaker was the guy that was running one of these testing labs, and he got up there and gave a spiel and said how proud he was and blah, 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 blah. And the next day, the task force arrested him. And I'm thinking to myself, Al must have known they were going to arrest him. Didn't say a word to me. He didn't even tell me. So much for former colleagues. So
yeah, right. It's like President Obama at the White House dinner, the famous, what's it called, the press corps dinner, when they were making jokes about Bin Laden, and Obama was there with a big smile on his face. He clearly knew something that night that the rest of us didn't.
So what kind of legislation has the task force worked on, or did they get passed?
We passed landmark legislation back in 2017 and and we just passed another bill this past year in 2019. Without getting too technical, we made patient brokering a felony where it's much easier to prosecute and sentence these people who engage in patient brokering, pay to play, to prison, whereas before it was treated like a slap on the wrist. We even increased oversight over drug treatment centers through the Department of Children and Families, giving them better resources and better rules to clamp down on drug treatment centers that are violating the law. We criminalized the false advertising that these drug centers had often used to lure people down to South Florida under false pretenses. We've done other things with the peer counselors, making sure they're accredited and making sure sober homes have to be certified when they refer people to and from these facilities. I mean, we've done a lot. Now Florida went from having the weakest laws, among the weakest laws in the country in this area, to having the best laws, the toughest and best that the rest of the country is now trying to follow. We are the leaders in this fight, and it's great because when I was in the legislature, Florida lagged behind everyone else. We were the pill supplier for the rest of the country. But now Florida's laws are ahead of the curve, and I'm really proud of our efforts. And we couldn't have done it without the buy-in from not just law enforcement, but also from stakeholders, from the good sober homes, the quality treatment providers who participated in our task force, who helped us pass these laws, DCF and other agencies that have worked with us, FAR, the Florida Association of Recovery Residences, and FATA, Florida Association of Drug and Alcohol, the treatment providers. We've been able to work together with the industry to clean up the industry. And I'm very proud of that.
So where do we go from here? I mean, it's a continuing fight. You said you've got things are in-house now with the task force, right, in terms of enforcement. So, I mean, where does Florida move forward with the fight on the opioid crisis? Because it's not going away anytime soon, from what I can see.
We have to continue working to clean up the Florida Shuffle, to fix the Florida Shuffle. By the way, I have a website out there dedicated to that, fixthefloridashuffle.com. We have to focus on ridding the drug treatment industry of the insurance fraud and patient brokering that still exists, although we've cleaned it up largely
big time
here in Palm Beach County, but it is spread elsewhere. So now we're trying to advise other communities what to do about this problem because we're all in it together. We're also trying to help those in recovery get access to quality, safe treatments like Oxford houses, for example, which are now licensed to open up in Florida. We're bringing in a new kind of sober home to Florida that has been a proven model without the fraud, without the abuse. And I think you will look to Palm Beach County and hopefully Florida as a whole one day as the model on how to operate a drug treatment center that gets people healthy and well from this opioid epidemic instead of forcing them to leave in an ambulance or body bag.
So do you think there's a chance of some national legislation on a federal level? Because I mean, people always joke, Palm Beach County is like the vortex at the center of the universe, right? 2000 we have the whole Bush Gore thing, and then now we're having this thing, and it's like everything seems to happen in Palm Beach County before it happens in the rest of the country.
Yeah, true. There has been legislation last year. At the end of last year, there was some landmark opioid legislation, and dare I say bipartisan, even in this Congress.
Was that the Ted Deutsch legislation?
Well, he was part of it. Yeah. This was a very broad piece of legislation that affected the patient brokering aspect. It gave the U.S. Attorney's Office jurisdiction, so they can go after patient brokering in the states, whereas before they had to rely on state prosecutors, which didn't have the manpower or resources or will, quite frankly, to do this. They also passed some better regulations that are out there that will allow expanded buprenorphine, which is a treatment for opioid abuse, but also be able to go after the fraud and abuse that exists out there. But that bill was a good bill that, like, for example, it targeted exporters of fentanyl from China,
which is a huge problem.
Yeah,
Huge.
Who shipped this stuff through the U.S. Postal Service. So it went after the corruption, but it also went and provided expanded treatment. So it was a really good bill. Not perfect, but really good.
Okay, so I know we're up against the clock with you. So if people see things going on in the treatment industry or a sober home or stuff like that, how do they report this information? How do they let your office know what's going on?
We have a hotline. People can report. It's a toll-free number, and I'll have to find that. It's 324, and I'll have to get it for you. In fact, I think I have it right here in my desk. The hotline number is 324-5463. There it is.
There it is. And are they allowed to call the state attorney's office as well?
That is the state attorney's office. That
is
our Sober Homes Task Force.
I like that. And, so I still remember the number to the office. You know that, right? I mean, 355-7100. I mean, what can I tell you? It's sort of, it's burned in my psyche. So listen, I'm going to let you go, but I really appreciate you coming. I know you are super busy. And, I'm going to try and grab lunch again with you. You know what's interesting, Jay? I'm talking to Jay, my producer. I had lunch with Dave and Al on election day. So, I mean, yeah, Dave was really excited. I don't know if he actually finished his lunch, but he was like a kid in a candy store on election day, and it was actually quite fun to see. And I said to Al, is Dave normally like this? He's like, yeah, this is Dave. So what I love about Dave is he's real, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you.
I know your guy didn't win, but it was still fun to watch.
Next time we'll have lunch, we'll have some bangers and mash.
Listen, I was raised by a Jewish mother. I don't think she's cooking me bangers and mash, but I appreciate the sentiment. You might get some shepherd's pie out of her, though, as well. She'd like you. My mother she would like Dave, so.
I would love her. That's so nice. Well, hey, Mark, thanks for having me on your show, and keep up the great work. Thanks,
Dave, for coming on. Always good to see you, my friend. Take care.
All right, my friend. Take care.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye. All right, everybody. So I'm so glad we got Dave on. He's really amazing. So if you didn't get the number that Dave gave out, the main number to the state attorney's office, if you see anything that's going on within the treatment industry that you're not comfortable with or you just want to report, 561-355-7100 is the state attorney's office, and you can ask to speak to the person who's in charge of the Sober Homes Task Force. If you want to call us and talk to us about the work we do, helping families and individuals who are in crisis because of substance use, mental illness, and eating disorders, you can find us online, drugandalcoholattorneys.com. You can email me, mark@drugandalcoholattorneys.com, or you can call us, 561-419-6095. We also want you to like and subscribe us on YouTube. You've got my personal page on Facebook. We've got the Drug and Alcohol Attorneys Facebook page, and then YouTube. Are we also on? Do we get to iHeart yet?
There's going to be a link for podcasts in this. So
how about that?
Follow the links for podcasts.
Okay, so I guess when you guys are watching this, follow the links for podcasts, and you'll be able to see more of our readings. I think we're also on Vimeo as well now, right? How about that? We're getting out there. So, folks, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, thank you very much.